And a warm welcome to today's webinar on the topic, The Future of AI in Game Localization, hosted by us at Gridley. My name is Anna Albinsson, and I am the CEO of Gridley, and I am your webinar host of today. I'm very happy to welcome you to this panel discussion on this super interesting topic of the future of AI in game localization. Let's introduce our amazing speakers. So first off is Denis Ivanov from Belka Games, an expert within game localization and integrating AI, and a specialist in scaling workflows. He also brings a special perspective with his unique global experience. Secondly, we have Mike King from Kong Studios with over 20 years of gaming localization experience, ranging from AAAs to startup, and his current focus on applying AI and automation in localization pipelines. He will definitely have great insights on today's topic. And finally, we have Tucker Mills from the Bards Guild, a localization expert with more than 15 years of experience in delivering games for worldwide audiences. He specializes in modern localization workflows and assisted translations, and brings an important perspective on building player-focused pipelines that balance both quality, speed, and cost. So a very experienced panel within this field. As we have mentioned now, in the past few years, there has been an explosion in AI localization technology. And most are rushing to implement it. In an ideal world, what role should AI play in game localization workflows today? What is your view of this if we start with Dennis?
Hello guys. It's so lovely to be here, and thank you to Gridley that they called me to present. And yeah, if we speak about this question, I actually don't agree with the idea that everyone is rushing to use AI right now. If you've been to any localization conference lately, you probably noticed that no gaming companies, for example, are much faster, I would tell, at adapting new technologies. Meanwhile, many game studios are still staying away from AI or are only just starting to think about it. Of course, some people are keeping the technologies in secret. Yeah, it's like a bit of a dark forest vibe right now in the industry, but I'm pretty sure that the majority, most are just afraid to use it. Our industry is different because it's so creative, I would tell, and we aren't just dealing with manuals or instructions. We have dialogues, lore, and games where the story is everything. That's why the question of where we can and can't use AI is so important, I think. Personally, I think AI's biggest role right now is making our workflows stronger, faster, and better obvious. It's a tool, first of all, not a replacement. With AI, I can, for example, proofread fast, find errors in languages I don't even speak, and handle urgent translations in a heartbeat. For me, AI has been a total win in the past. If a certain language didn't hit our performance metrics, for example, benchmarks, we would just cut it and stop supporting at all. But now, instead of just dropping it and cutting it, we switch it to an AI pipeline. We don't have to tell our players, sorry, your language doesn't meet our metrics, goodbye. And yeah, that's it. So, and on top of that, I used to have before I used to have fight a lot with management to add new languages to a game. Now the barrier, I would tell that is much lower, and we can support more languages even if the initial metrics are lower. So yeah, AI helps me with proofreading, tier 3 translations, and in the future I'd love it to help me with AI LQA. We haven't implemented it yet. It's on our roadmap for this year, but I know that it's becoming a huge trend in the industry, so it's really interesting to speak about it.
And maybe we got really high numbers in our registration poll because the ones interested in AI and localization might be the ones also joining this webinar, right? But Tucker, how about you? What's your view on AI's role in game localization workflows today?
Yeah, hey everybody, it's a pleasure to be here as well. I think I agree with Dennis on most parts there, especially that AI should not replace our internal localization teams, but we should really try to use it to augment our abilities so that we can spend more time on workflow design, structuring, and tooling. That being said, I think there are 3 great cases for AI that I've found recently. The first being using not LLMs, which have become such a hot topic of the past year or two, but neural machine translation, so NMT. You were probably familiar with that with DeepL. There's some other tools like Modern MT that I've used. And I find that NMTs can be very useful for repetitive content. So things like skill descriptions or stat modifiers. So once you get that syntax of, every 3 turns, increase Tucker's attack by 5, right? If you have that syntax, we can then translate the other 100 variants of that much faster. And also those sort of game balancing or content that gets balanced throughout the game development process, right, gets updated frequently. And I don't think localizers or translators need to spend as much time on those chunks of content anymore. And they can focus on narrative text and dialogue. And so when it comes to the narrative text and dialogue, I think LLMs can be very useful, right? As a mid-30s man, I'm maybe not the best person to translate the dialogue of like a inquisitive child, right? So I could maybe do a first pass of my translation and then say, hey, keep the meaning of this translation, but rewrite it with some colloquial phrases, and speech patterns of an 8-year-old kid, right? And then the last thing I want to bring up is tooling development, right? I think localization departments are often overlooked in their engineering needs, right? What sort of tools can help our team succeed? And with the advent of tools like Claude Code, I think we now have an opportunity for maybe more of us technically minded project managers to pivot a little more into localization engineering. So last week, I actually was working on Claude Code to develop a LQA plugin for Unity. Still very much in development, right? But within a couple hours, I was able to develop this plugin that is going to be able to tag automatically text overrun and text cutoff issues with the hope of maybe uploading a screenshot to, say, Jira or Gridley and adding an LQA flag, right? So as people are playtesting, you could have this AI-developed automated plugin working for you, whereas before we would maybe have to wait for a year to get those engineering resources from our internal teams. So that's an important thing I see happening.
Super interesting. And how about you, Mike? What's your take on this, the AI's role in localization workflows today?
I think a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I'm a very for AI person. I think some of people may actually have me speaking at other conferences about utilizing AI since 2 years ago. And our companies actually have been using AI since 2 or more so years ago. And my ultimate goal is to try to cover as much as possible with AI and utilize the AI in different ways. The trend of AI has been changed in the last couple of years, since it first came out. From, I don't know if people remember, but there used to be a prompt engineering, used to be a big thing, but who talks about prompting anymore? It's about the contextual AI now, right? So the AI can actually contextual about whole novel in individual, the prompting. So nowadays, as long as we can actually work with the design teams and engineerings within the company, AI can literally provide a faster and sometimes much more accurate like even rough translation than a lot of translators these days. Of course, it takes a lot of collaborations and it takes time. In my thought, the positive side of this is it gets better every time you run it, and you get and more contextual data that you actually put in, the better information, better result you get. In my company, we don't have internal translators anymore. We actually work with designers and engineers to automate and utilize AI to translate every single first draft of translation now. And then we actually utilize the linguists to cover the areas that we need to improve, such as, I think someone mentioned about consistency, but, as I said, you cannot just put in, source text and expect the best quality without the contextual data. So linguists are now working on providing the contextual data either from design documentations, characteristic guidance, all the documentations the design team provides to make the quality